Welcome to the Nagual Zone. I'm Anaam, and today we are talking about the one thing that affects us all, the one hardwired, inbuilt, can't change it. It's in this, it's part of life, it's part of existence, and that is recurring patterns. Not talking about fractals and pi equals 3.59 and I have learned 3000 up to 3, or Fibonacci series and the golden mean ratio. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. We're talking about patterns that affect you directly in your life. Fibonacci really doesn't, your cake that you stuff your face with isn't made of Fibonacci numbers, is it? So it's what affects your life, right? That string of failed relationships, there's no golden mean ratio there. So try not to get lost in your head about patterns. For warriors, these are hard, practical things. And patterns are the be-all and end-all. They really are. Patterns, it's where it starts, and patterns, it's where it ends. Because patterns force us as warriors to worship one thing. Literally worship one thing. The average man will worship some kind of person, God up there somewhere, and so on and so forth. Warriors worship this one thing because patterns force us to worship intelligent repetition. Now, if the connection isn't clear so far to you between patterns and intelligent repetition, I'll make it clear right now. As we know, patterns govern our life. All warriors were average men and women once. No one is born a warrior. And the only difference between the average man's consensus insanity versus the warrior's separate reality is that the average man's consensus insanity is based on 99% disadvantageous, harmful, toxic, anti-life patterns, diseased patterns. Up to 99%, sometimes full. It is not possible to be full because everyone's a luminous being, innately luminous being. So, but it can be very bad. The ratio can be very, very disadvantageous. Warriors invest a lot of time, resources, energy, and most of all, intelligent repetition to convert that ratio in their favor. Which means, if you closely look at a warrior's life, her life will be made up mostly, chiefly, up to 99% of advantageous, pro-life, life-giving patterns. That's the difference. Both have patterns. It is not possible to live a life without patterns. It doesn't work like that. It is not possible to have a perfectly fluid warrior who does only everything just once, breathe just once, and you're a fluid warrior. So again, reminding that nonsensical philosophies are one thing, but what affects your life is a very different matter. And let's take that energy out of here, discussing endlessly inside ourselves most times, and then with others, nonsensical stuff, and focus that energy on what you need to do to change. These patterns can make your life absolute hell. Absolute hell. I've seen it again and again and again. And I've also seen people change those disadvantageous patterns and emerge into people whose life is getting better and better, and after a certain point it becomes really mythical, epic, amazing, unbelievable. It produces envy in everyone else. It infuriates people to look at these, how good their life is. Relatively. There can never be again a perfectly good life. Everyone will have challenges. But for the average man, those challenges delete their energy or suck the energy out of them. For the warrior, those challenges, they may have a bump, some energy was low energy, but they will quickly recover and turn that into an event which gives them energy. Right? These are learned patterns of behavior. Patterns are everything, and they force warriors to worship intelligent repetition. If you don't get this under control in your life, there's only one outcome. And you know this outcome because you're terrified of it. And yet, why is it that you do not do anything to change the outcome? Don't you think that's an insane way to live? Here's the problem with the average man's consensus insanity. It's completely Disneyfied. 80 years of junk on a screen and radio will do that to a civilization. Your own idea, concept of yourself is so Disneyfied. So Disneyfied. Everything runs like a Disney movie in your head about yourself. Notice that. Notice that. In fact, notice how the editing in your head about yourself is exactly like a Netflix movie. You jump from scene to scene. There's a close-up and then there's a zoom and everything. Notice it. Notice your dreams. You think humans naturally dream like the way you dream? Not at all. You dream the way you've been brainwashed to dream, which is in chops and cuts. What do they call it in the film business? Cut. Cut what? Cut the reel. Cut the shot. Next shot. Humans are not meant to be dreaming like that. Humans are meant to dream in a continuous smooth flow. But that's another topic altogether. These patterns, if not changed, will give you increasing levels of misery. And all the average man has to fall back on to cope with those increasing levels of misery is the Disneyfied hopes and wishes. Jesus, help me. What is Jesus? It's equivalent to Batman helping. Batman come and save Gotham. Superman will come and save the planet. It's all the same stories you've been fed. It's exactly the same stories. Same myths, same stories. Jesus is a superhero in your life as far as you're concerned, right? You're very proud of it. What else? Who else will come and save you? Daddy will come and save you. Mommy will come. I did a video called OPM. That's pure Disney running in your head. All in all, the more the misery, the more the average man falls into the trap of hoping and wishing for some kind of miracle to happen to save them. Some fairy godmother type of variation of the fairy godmother to come and wave the magic wand, and their troubles vanish and they have a chance at living happily ever after. That last statement has done more damage to man in the last 80 years than you could imagine, begin to imagine. Think about that. You were listening to this repeated again and again at the end of a story that had altered your brain into a very specific kind of brainwashing state. When you were 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. And what was the end, the last bit of mind control that was inserted into you? Happily ever after. What is that tied in with? What do the Christians say? What is the happily ever after for Christians, Muslims, Jews, Buddhas, Buddhists? What is happily ever after? It's something that you can't do anything about whilst you're alive. What is that? Your death. So these things brainwash you into sacrificing what is here for you right now and doing something about it, to hoping, wishing that one day I'll fly away. Keep flying. You come right back and then you want to fly again. Warriors don't get into this junk. We start seeing through what the Matrix has done to you, the AI that runs this realm, in order to keep you trapped. On a side note, if you value your freedom, I encourage you to invest the next 1 year in knowing, educating yourself, verifying for yourself anything and everything that you can find out about mind control. There are plenty of great books out there. There's one, I believe, called The Rape of the Mind. I believe that's the book. Or something to that. That's a great book to start. I haven't read it myself, but it has been read by someone I know, and I trust their judgment on this. Make yourself a real authority on mind control, because it's for your own, to your own advantage. Patterns govern our lives. Let's take, for example, 2 patterns that are the absolute curse of the average man's consensus insanity. The first one of them, lying. Lying to yourself. Warriors are devoid of morals. That's not how we go about wasting energy on morals. For warriors, lying, you can lie to the world all you like, because that's not the issue. But lying to yourself is a big deal. You can't be lying to yourself. Do you think that you will ever gain any advantage in terms of energy or results by lying to yourself? The answer is very obvious, right? But you do it constantly. You might be saying, no, I'm a very truthful person. I don't lie to myself. Yeah, all right. Start speaking the truth to yourself up here. And watch what happens. You'll discover some very surprising things about your pattern of lying. Because you will first of all start realizing, oh, I was lying about that to myself. That I'm a very truthful person. That was the way the lie was living in me. The problem with lies for warriors is that lying takes a lot of energy to maintain and uphold. Once you establish a lie in yourself, you start believing your own bullshit. It takes a lot of energy to maintain that as time goes by, and then it becomes a energy sink. You're putting more and more energy into it for less and less returns. It is really a bad deal, bad investment. If tomorrow in this life, lying became energy efficient, you can bet on it that warriors will become world-class liars. Warriors can have the capacity to be world-class liars, but that's part of a different branch of Toltec sorcery, having to do with other things. Here you cannot afford to lie to yourself. That pattern of lying to yourself, there is no good outcome ever. You like affirmations? Start telling yourself, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, I'm a billionaire, I'm the next inventor of the wheel. Start telling yourself this. Watch what happens to your life. And no, you won't become a millionaire. You'll end up isolated and insane. That's what will happen to you. But start telling yourself, I am learning to generate more and more prosperity in my life. What's going to happen to you as time goes on? Yeah. One, you're lying to yourself. There's no good that'll come of that. The latter, you're not lying to yourself. You're setting an intent and you're repeating that intent. You've just turned a bad deal, a bad pattern, into a good pattern, an advantageous pattern. A pattern that will return energy to you in amazing and delightful ways. It is that simple. Let's take another curse of modern man. Between these two absolutely horrific demons, these are the nemesis of warriors. Warriors absolutely hate these two things. You know what the second one is? You'll never guess. Inconsistent living. Inconsistency. There is no good that'll ever come of setting an intent and then being inconsistent about applying it. There are no good results. There's no amount of hoping and wishing for it to work will make it work. Just like you can put square wheels on a car and then hope and wish that it will burn less fuel when you try and drive it. Imagine you came across a person who changed the wheels of their car to square tires and then claimed that they're hoping and wishing ardently, they repeat the mantra every day, that the car will become even more energy efficient, it'll burn less fuel and go further. What would you think of that person? Seriously deluded, right? At the very least. Lying to themselves. Inconsistencies like that. People are inconsistent and then they hope and wish that it'll turn out okay anyway. But how? But why? How can it possibly turn out good for you if you're going to be inconsistent? You want to learn something? Well, you better get your ass down and sort yourself out. Do you understand why intelligent repetition is what warriors worship? If you want to find out someone who claims themselves to be a warrior, look at their life and these two things, lying and inconsistencies. Inconsistencies not in their narrative to you. An accomplished warrior can spin you around till you don't know your ass from your elbow. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if they have an intent, how much consistency do they bring to bear to materialize that intent? That's a big tell. Now that there's plenty of people who belong to the average man's consensus insanity club who do not lie and are consistent. But that doesn't make them warriors. That doesn't make them Toltec warriors. Doesn't make them sorcerers. However, don't you think it's a great start? So here, learn to spot your patterns and start with the big two, these big two. Chances are, I'll bet money on it, that you suffer from these two patterns on a daily basis. What can we do about these? What can I do? And the great thing about this is if you learn to overcome just one of these patterns, or both. I learned to overcome both patterns. One was slightly easier because I was raised in a disciplined way. Then I went to army school, so you can imagine the discipline and the, so one was easy. The inconsistency was not that hard for me. But lying to myself, lying to others, even little bits to create a better than reality image to myself and others, I was shocked to find that I did that constantly. Amazed. What can we do about this? All you have to do is start hunting it. Start becoming aware of when you do this. Start becoming aware of when do you lie to yourself. There are certain conditions that are met which trigger you lying to yourself. Such as, it's Friday evening. There are no parties that you can distract yourself with. There's nothing on TV that you like. And suddenly you find you're falling into this void of loneliness because there's nothing to distract you from it. That's the trigger. Now you be aware. What are you going to do? Are you going to lie to yourself? Or are you going to face reality? Are you going to lie yourself right into a food binge? Right? So these are some examples. Inconsistency, same thing. Set an intent and then watch. There'll be a honeymoon period where you'll go, I can break through steel doors. I feel so powerful. And then a week later, a month later, whatever your stamina is worth, you'll miss 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and so on. And before long, it's finished. So watch these things. And just the observing will help you change. Just the observing. From there, you can set a separate intent. And the intent needs to go something like this. I am willing to change. I am capable of change. I'm willing to change, and I am capable of change. I am capable. I'm willing to change. I am capable. I'm willing to change this. I am capable. That's your intent. Just being aware of your pattern and then put this intent into place and repeat this magic spell. You may have to do it for a long time depending on the severity of the pattern, how ingrained and brainwashed it is in you. But your own awareness and your own intent can and will overcome it and change it into whatever you wish. On that note, let me know in the comments below what pattern you have spotted in your life that was disadvantageous, that was sucking the light out of you, luminosity out of you, and you changed it successfully. How did you do it? Let us all benefit from your story of success. Let us know in the comments what you think of this video, and I'll see you next time. Walk in freedom. Farewell.